Content warning by Jon Cronshaw. I refresh the page again. 5 more comments since I last checked 4 minutes ago. I scan them quickly, feeling my chest tighten with each line. 3 are benign, generic praise that provides momentary relief but no real satisfaction. The 4th expresses disappointment that my protagonist drinks too much coffee, suggesting this normalizes caffeine dependency. I stopped at the 5th. I noticed your detective uses the phrase, turning a blind eye, in Chapter 7. As someone with a visually impaired parent, I found this ableist language quite triggering. Please consider the harm such casual phrases cause to vulnerable communities. My fingers are already moving, opening the manuscript, searching for the offending phrase. There it is, on page 193. I delete it immediately, replace it with intentionally ignoring. Less colorful, certainly. Less authentic to the character, a grizzled detective who wouldn't speak in such carefully sanitized terms. But authenticity is a luxury I can no longer afford. I hit save, upload the revised manuscript, and add it to my revision notes. Updated potentially ableist language in Chapter 7. The Glass Witness is my 4th Detective Mike Holloway novel. The first 3 have sold over 2 million copies combined. My agent calls me a commercial powerhouse. My publisher refers to me as bankable. My social media followers number in the hundreds of thousands. I should feel successful. Instead, I feel hunted. I check the time, 3:17 a.m. I've been monitoring comments for nearly 6 hours straight. My eyes burn. My back aches. My wife Lara gave up and went to bed around midnight, her departing words, "This is becoming unhealthy, Simon," still echoing in my skull. She doesn't understand. Nobody does. In today's climate, a single misstep can end everything. One problematic sentence, one insensitive character trait, one overlooked trigger warning, that's all it takes. The algorithm boosts the outraged comments. The hashtags form, the mob assembles. By morning, you're trending for all the wrong reasons. By evening, your career is in ashes. I refresh again. 2 new comments. Really uncomfortable with how you describe the female victim's clothing in detail. Feels male-gazy and objectifying. Love the book, but did the killer have to be mentally ill? Perpetuates harmful stereotypes about mental health. I make note of both. The female victim's clothing description will need to be neutralized. Perhaps just, she wore a dark outfit, instead of the half-page I'd originally written, attempting to convey character through fashion choices. The killer's psychological profile will need adjustment too. Perhaps I'll make him completely neurotypical. Boring, but safe. It wasn't always like this. My first novel, published 8 years ago, was raw and unfiltered. I wrote without fear, created flawed, complex characters who said and did problematic things because real humans say and do problematic things. The reviews were stellar, the sales respectable. Most importantly, I felt proud of what I'd created. Everything changed 3 years ago when author Meredith Collins was destroyed online for a character who exhibited culturally insensitive behavior explicitly portrayed as wrong within the narrative. Didn't matter. Context collapsed under the weight of screenshots and outrage. Her publisher dropped her. Her agent abandoned her. Her previous books were pulled from shelves. Her existence erased. Her 15 years of work vanished overnight. I watched it happen in real time, horrified and taking notes. That would never happen to me. I promised myself. I would become bulletproof. I implemented a system. Beta readers from every conceivable demographic. Sensitivity readers examining every potential angle of offense. A personal content database tracking all possible triggers mentioned in online discussions. Pre-publication apologies for anything I might have missed. Still, it's never enough. With each book, the circle of acceptable content grows smaller. What passed without comment in my previous novel now generates concern. Phrases once considered neutral are suddenly revealed as coded oppression or racist dog whistles. Character traits once read as humanizing now flagged as stereotyping. I open my draft of the 5th Holloway novel, already half complete. I scan the first page, suddenly seeing it through my reader's eyes. Mike Holloway lit another cigarette, his third in an hour. Promoting nicotine addiction? Potentially triggering for former smokers? Delete. The victim's body was sprawled across the kitchen floor, blood pooling beneath her head where the bullet had exited. Graphic violence. Traumatizing for victims of gun crime. Delete. Jesus Christ, Mike muttered, running his hand through his thinning hair. Religious exclamation, offensive to Christians and non-Christians alike. Reference to hair loss, insensitive to those experiencing alopecia. Delete. I continue through the manuscript, finding offense in every paragraph, danger in every sentence. By the time I reach page 10, I've removed virtually all specific details, character traits, and distinctive dialogue. What remains is a bland, featureless narrative wasteland. I close the document and return to monitoring comments on The Glass Witness. 27 new concerns have appeared while I was editing. A character's food preference is potentially insulting to certain cultural groups. A description of a city street might be interpreted as classist. The detective's methodology raises questions about police procedure that could be seen as propaganda. I address each one methodically, cutting and replacing, diluting and neutering. With each edit, my story becomes less mine, more theirs, a collective work shaped by the aggregated sensitivities of thousands of strangers. Lara finds me still at my desk when she wakes at 7 a.m. Did you sleep at all? Had to fix some problematic elements, I mumble, not looking away from the screen. She sighs that familiar sigh, the one that carries disappointment, concern, and resignation in equal measure. Simon, this isn't writing anymore. I don't know what this is. It's survival. It's making sure we can still pay the mortgage next year. Is it worth it if you're miserable? If what you're creating isn't even yours anymore? I don't answer because I don't have an answer. Instead, I refresh the comment section again. The next week passes in a blur of revisions. With each new version uploaded, fresh concerns emerge. It's as if the very act of addressing one issue creates space for readers to discover others. The book is now in its 17th version since sharing the beta version 3 weeks ago. The plot has been simplified to remove potentially upsetting twists. The characters have been flattened to avoid any traits that might resemble stereotypes. The dialogue has been stripped of idioms, colloquialisms, and cultural references. My publisher emails, unprecedented engagement with this release. The constant updates are driving sustained attention. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. They don't understand that I'm engaged in a war of attrition, and I'm losing. There's only so much that can be removed before nothing remains. The lack of diverse characters feels exclusionary. By not explicitly addressing societal issues, you're implicitly supporting the status quo. The absence of any clear moral messaging makes this feel irresponsible in today's climate. Include diverse characters, risk accusations of tokenism or inappropriate cultural appropriation. Exclude them, face charges of erasure or exclusion. Address social issues, potentially mishandle sensitive topics. Avoid social issues, be accused of privileged indifference. There is no safe path. At 2:43 a.m. on a Tuesday, I open the manuscript of The Glass Witness and select all text. Delete. I stare at the blank page for 3 full minutes, my mind quiet for the first time in weeks. I type a single word at the top. Untitled. I save the document. Upload it as version 18. Then I take a sleeping pill and collapse into bed beside Lara, who doesn't stir as I curl into a fetal position, awaiting the inevitable backlash that will end my career once and for all. I wake to my phone vibrating itself nearly off the nightstand. Notifications, hundreds of them. With a sense of dread, I open my social media accounts, expecting the career-ending hashtags, the pile-on, the cancellation. Instead, I find praise. Overwhelming, enthusiastic praise. Simon Reed's Untitled is the boldest literary statement of the decade. In giving us nothing, Reed gives us everything. A blank canvas for our own experiences. Truly inclusive storytelling. Revolutionary. By removing all potentially triggering content, Reed creates the first truly safe literary space. The emptiness speaks volumes about the creative paralysis caused by our call-out culture, meta-commentary at its finest. I've never felt so seen, or rather, unseen, by a work of literature. Thank you for considering people like me. I scroll through hundreds of similar comments, my confusion gradually giving way to hysterical laughter. Lara finds me like this, cackling at my phone, tears streaming down my face. Simon, what's happened? I can barely speak through the laughter. I published a blank page, and they love it. She takes the phone from my shaking hands, reads a few comments, and sits heavily on the edge of the bed. This is insane. No, I said, my laughter subsiding into something colder, emptier. This is perfectly logical, the ultimate conclusion. The only truly inoffensive content is no content at all. My publisher calls within the hour. Simon, you magnificent bastard. The publicity team is calling it revolutionary minimalism. We're rushing a hardcover edition into production. Premium price point, of course. 200 pages of high-quality blank paper with just Untitled by Simon Reed on the cover. Early orders are through the roof. I listen silently, feeling nothing. And we want to lock you in for a 5-book deal. Same concept, different titles, or no titles, whatever you think works best. Complete creative freedom to create more? Well, nothing. Complete creative freedom to create nothing. I repeat, the irony so perfect, it almost circles back to sincerity. Yes, I suppose I can do that. After hanging up, I sit at my desk and open a new document. The blinking cursor on the empty page seems to mock me. This is my future, producing nothing, praised for nothing, becoming nothing. I've achieved what every artist supposedly desires, universal acclaim. All it cost was everything. I type a single sentence, knowing I'll delete it before anyone else sees it. This is the story of how I disappeared while everyone watched. I stare at the words, the only honest thing I've written in years, for exactly 60 seconds. Then I select all and press delete. The blank page stares back at me, pure and inoffensive. The end. Thanks for listening. You can support Jon Cronshaw and get early access to stories at patreon.com/Jon Cronshaw author. Content warning is copyright 2025 by Jon Cronshaw.